Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about a true crime case that I came across very randomly as I was online. Now, the first thing that caught my attention was the phrasing of the title. Now, I did look at multiple articles and we are going to be referring to multiple ones. The reason why I'm pointing out that there are multiple articles is that some of them casually don't mention facts that are a big deal, and we'll get to that. So if you do want to read them, I'd suggest reading all of them because they don't all have the same information. So this is the headline I saw, which made me be like, what the fuck is this? Clothing company founder sentenced to 12 years for teen girlfriend's fatal shooting. Michael Hutto, 56, was sentenced to 12 years in prison on Thursday after admitting to accidentally shooting dead his 18-year-old girlfriend, Laura Grace Duncan, at a Riviera Beach hotel room. To be clear, aside from the obvious shooting, which is the shocking part of all of this, I was also confused at the teen girlfriend because that's so vague that I was like, is there also pedophilia involved here? That's not the case. They did start dating once she was 18. It's still a large age gap, but that's obviously not the center focus here. Michael Hutto, the founder of the Salt Life clothing brand, pleaded guilty to manslaughter with a firearm on Thursday, 2.5 years after shooting his 18-year-old girlfriend in their ritzy Florida hotel room. Circuit Judge Rowe sentenced Hutto, 56, to 12 years in state prison for killing Laura Grace Duncan on October 29, 2020. Duncan told Riviera Beach police that the two were pretending to shoot each other with finger guns and an actual one when Duncan was unintentionally shot in the stomach, according to a probable cause affidavit. Obviously, there's some stuff missing here, right? Because already I think there needs to be a certain level of context for all of this. So what I'm wondering here are the circumstances, because playing this finger gun game, shooting at each other, okay, but also having a real gun and that one being shot. You know when you hear of a situation and you can't really imagine what kind of context would explain that situation or would make that situation make sense? That's where I'm at right now. I don't get it. It'd be still another thing. I'm not saying it's justifiable by any means, but if you're at home and you happen to own a gun, having a gun there is not weird because you're at home. The fact that you're at a hotel and you have a gun with you also weirds me out, because in that context, I'm like, why is that something you bring with you when you're quote unquote traveling, or at least in a hotel, as opposed to something you just leave at home and happen to have there? Does that make sense? Why would you carry that with you? So Hutto's defense attorney claims that this was an accident. So what some of the articles don't mention is the following. Hutto was a married father of 4 who raised horses and cattle in a farm outside of Lake City. He met Duncan at a gym where the 18-year-old worked, and Hutto underwent physical therapy stemming from an ATV accident years earlier. Nobody cares about the farm and the gym, but he was married and with children, which makes the circumstances vastly different. It's not just he had a girlfriend who was significantly younger than him, which already might make some people raise their eyebrows. It was he had a girlfriend while he was still married, and on top of that he had children, and then he went away with his girlfriend on a trip, a vacation, whatever you want to call it, and he had a gun there, or she had a gun. There was a gun. We don't know whose it was as far as I've read. None of this shit is adding up to me. I don't understand. I'm not getting the picture, which is making it difficult for me to understand what. Okay. So this article was also interesting because it mentioned Duncan's parents and how they felt about this relationship, which, as you can imagine, most parents are not elated that their daughter is dating someone who could very well be her parent. Duncan's mother and father felt differently about the relationship. They reported their daughter missing to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office on October 26, 2020, one day after she texted to say she was traveling down the state with Hutto. She told her parents they were going to Daytona Beach to meet Hutto's associates, whom she hoped could help the couple start a business. Hutto had sold Salt Life, a clothing line marketed to surfers and boaters. Now, in a previous article about Salt Life that I'd read, it sold for $40 million. Now, he was a co-founder, so I don't know how much of that necessarily went to him. Just something to keep in mind. Duncan called her parents during a deputy's visit to their house, dispelling their fears that she was missing, but she sounded strange. They insisted drugged and vulnerable. They asked that the sheriff's office conduct a welfare check, fearful that Hutto had manipulated their daughter. The sheriff's office sent a notice statewide to be on the lookout for Duncan, who called her parents again to tell them she and Hutto were headed for the Keys. Employees at the Singer Island Hotel told Riviera Beach police officers on October 29th that a man named Hutto reserved a room and missed his checkout time. An officer knocked on the hotel door, the two companions ducking out of the view of the peephole, but no one answered. The officers said later they could smell something bad emanating from inside the room. The hotel staff let them inside and they found Duncan alone. The blood that pooled around her was dry. They found marijuana too. Merle said he didn't know why Hutto drew his gun in the first place, but he believes he fired it by accident, perhaps under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Then he fled in a panic. He made it as far as St. Johns County before pulling into a gas station, quote, twitching, making delusional comments, and crying while his eyes rolled back in his head, the gas station employees said. Riviera police found him in a hospital near St. Augustine. They took a recorded statement from him, and he was sobbing, Merle said. He cried again Thursday as Assistant State Attorney Joe Walensky read aloud a statement written by Duncan's family, who watched over Zoom. It was eloquent, Merle said, and painful to hear. So another thing that I think is particularly haunting and creeps me out to even read out loud is when detectives questioned Hutto about his girlfriend, the then 54-year-old man was quoted as telling them, "Oh my God, I think I hurt my Gracie," and then burst into tears. That in and of itself makes me both nauseated and sad, like profoundly sad, because I don't know what's going on with this man. If he dissociated, what he did, what was going on, if it's fake, if it's real, I have no idea, but just reading that. Okay, so remember how we mentioned Duncan's parents as well? Turns out Duncan's father thinks that Hutto had been basically drugging Duncan. He had been plying his teen daughter with drugs and keeping her sedated. So after pleading guilty to a charge of manslaughter with a firearm, Hutto was immediately sentenced to 12 years in prison with credit for the 79 days he served. Obviously, I don't know if the drug angle, the sedation is true, duh. But I do think that there is something very strange going on. I mean, like I said before, these circumstances just don't line up to me. I mean, I think if we even just knew why the fuck a real gun was involved at all in any of this, like, you're going with your girlfriend to have a business meeting with some associates you know in order to potentially start a company together. You're staying at a Hilton, I believe it was. What kind of business are you there for that you need a gun? I don't think going to the shooting range was part of this, so I'm just confused. And I also wonder, and maybe this will be elaborated upon further at some point when more information comes out, the fact that he was married and had children has some bearing on all of this, unless there was some kind of agreement with the wife, whether it was an open relationship, whether they were planning on getting divorced, whether they were separated. I don't know any of that. But to completely leave out the fact that there's a family involved as well, I think is a mistake, because obviously that could be part of it. The fact that he had a girlfriend who was also married, if they didn't know about each other, you know, there are so many questions that go with that. Obviously, there are no answers. Either way, I thought the layers of this were just extremely strange. I also even wonder if the meeting with the associates happened like prior to Duncan's death, or if it was even true to begin with, because Hutto realistically could have invented all of it. He could have been like, yeah, I have associates, let's go out of town over there. Oh, casually has a gun. Oh, casually by mistake, he shoots her playing this weird game. You see what I'm saying? There are things that aren't adding up here, and it really looks like he was trying to get her alone and far away, because none of this makes sense. And I wish, actually, maybe they already know and it's just not published, granted, asked the business partners or associates, whatever, hey, were you gonna meet with this person? Was this actually a plan? Because he can very easily say that as not an alibi, but at least a reason as to why they were out of town in a hotel within the same state. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think there's something really fucking weird and suspicious going on here. It doesn't add up to me as much as I'd like to think that he didn't kill her in cold blood. It's also like, these things don't look good. He is already sentenced to the 12 years, so I'd kind of say that maybe there is more stuff that we don't know about, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.